Welcome to Alan Darby Part 2 on forged documents that conceal the proceeds of crime. This is another stepping stones onto awareness interview with Caroline Stevens. This is Part 2, and we hope to follow with a Part 3 as Alan Darby has a very detailed knowledge of the Titanic. My name is Miles Johnson. This is Stepping Stones to Awareness. And ladies, you are on air.
Welcome to the Stepping Stones interview. I'm Caroline Stevens. I'm interviewing Alan Darby today, and we're talking about the court system concealing murder. Over to you, Alan. You have an interesting tale to tell on this.
Thank you, Caroline. Yes, it's not a tale. I'll set it out in an order where the viewers will understand. I'll read you a statement that was made by a solicitor of the partner who stole over £5.5 million from 1992 to 1998. In that time I was demonstrating, sleeping on Parliament Square, demonstrating in the Royal Courts of Justice, going before the Master of the Rolls, trying to lay criminal evidence to magistrates with no effect whatsoever. And the reason being, which I said in the last programme that I was trying to do, because I would have killed the goose that lays the golden egg, and the goose that lays the golden egg was Michael Archer, and he was stealing on average £1 million a year.
Who is Michael Archer?
He was the solicitor who, in the whole situation, was a solicitor for Argyle's. The partner of Argyle's was Robert Peter Adam, and this is Robert Peter Adam's statement. I'll show you.
So these are the solicitors, for the benefit of people who didn't watch part one. These are solicitors that you had direct dealings with
that was
when you were a builder.
Yes, these are the ones that forged all the documents and lost me my case. They got people to buy the property, a prison officer, and that same prison officer got £500,000, and it's in these documents here. And they brought him a house valued at £145,000, which was paid for with stolen money. And I will just read you. This is Robert Peter Adams' statement, and it's witness statements, as you can see there. It says witness statement where my hand is. Witness statement there. Witness statement, and it's signed at the back. Robert Peter Adams, and it's dated the 21st of the 6th, 2002. And I will read what it says. This is the partner of the man that stole all the money. That the Law Society said had done nothing wrong, that the police had done nothing wrong, they hadn't forged documents. Mike O'Brien, the MP of North Warwickshire, said nothing was wrong, there was nothing out of place. He got promoted to be the Solicitor General of England and Wales. The police officer who was saying there's nothing wrong was promoted to the Chief Constable of Warwickshire Constabulary, and he was put then in charge of all the atomic installations. And it reads, the purchase of Swinehead Farm. I note from the documents disclosed by North Warwickshire Borough Council that previously Mr and Mrs Brown had a secure tenancy at 62 the Heartlands, the Woodlands, Heartlands, Nuneaton, Warwickshire, CV10 OSY, which they rented from North Warwickshire Borough Council at an annual rent of £1,686.72 per year. On the 7th of October 1997, they gave 4 weeks' notice to terminate the tenancy and the occupation of the address that they rented. And the solicitor that made the statement says, I am informed by my solicitor, that's a solicitor, and believe that during the course of the investigations, so this was known before Michael Archer went to court. He was never charged for this, what I'm going to tell you now. The police discovered that on the 31st of October 1997, Michael Archer went to court in 2009 and got 5 years in 2000. Michael Archer purchased the property known as 8 Kingfisher Drive, Colvick, in the defendant's name, the defendant being Andrew Joseph Brown, prison officer, for the sum of £145,000 without a mortgage. The monies was made up of clients' funds obtained by misappropriation of clients' funds. That is, the money he stole. And then we go on that the Law Society, when Michael Archer gave himself up on Friday the 19th of July, the Law Society picked Rutherford solicitors, namely Robert Wiseman, to intervene, to close down, to bankrupt the solicitors. A year before, they were stealing off clients, and there he is, Robert Wiseman there, and the guy who sold one of Olt's properties is on this panel as well, and his name is Barry Whitehead.
Right, so just to explain to the people at home who are watching over here, these solicitors have done exactly what?
They've done the same as they did in my case. They've sold properties. They've stolen the evidence from the court. None of this took place. None of this evidence was given to Judge Cole in 1999.
In your own case?
No, this is when they prosecuted Michael Archer for stealing $5.5 million from his clients.
Right, so what did actually happen to Michael Archer?
Michael Archer, when they was doing the skullduggery in my case, because I had that much evidence and I was frightened that it did come out, one of them was a partner, and if he got caught, Argyle solicitors would have closed down. Argyle solicitors have been going over 100 years. It's like closing Cadbury's down for a bad bar of chocolate. You wouldn't do it. So they moved, and what they did, they took Archer's name, put Robert Peter Adams' joint name up there, Archer Adams, took Argyle's name down and put that, and in the same offices they operated as Archer Adams, not Argyle's. And from 2 weeks of opening, they started defrauding the customers. But they didn't have that many customers. They were stealing off all the surrounding solicitors' customers. They was pushing through this. It's quite incredible how it was done. But these are the most vulnerable people. They're elderly people who are quite easily convinced to do something by a solicitor. Elderly people trust solicitors. They don't know that there's a majority of them that are pigs will. Less than pigs will. I would rather sleep with a bag of pig swill than I would with a solicitor. And
so where does the murder come into this?
The murder. These solicitors in 1989 were asked by David King's mother to get him a mortgage. She'd already got a council mortgage with Tamworth Borough Council. And the son and the father couldn't get on, and he was going to leave home. David was 17 at the time, unemployed on a YTS scheme. And his mother said to Rutherford, can you get a solicitor? Can you get us a mortgage? And she did. So
for a 17-year-old?
They got him. He wasn't employed. So
how did that work then?
Pardon?
How do you manage to get a mortgage at 17
you
and
use
not
a forged
employed?
document, like a solicitor's, like they move the transfer. You can do anything.
Oh, okay.
You can do anything with a document. You forge it, put a signature on it that doesn't exist, put his name as David Wright, and put his age as 30. Put him as a bank manager.
Okay.
Put him as doing anything.
And this is the same solicitors?
The same. Well, there's Rutherford's in Tamworth.
Yeah.
This is the Bermuda Triangle. We've got Argyle's, we've got Rutherford's, we've got Gardner Canning. Now, these two people I mentioned, put Barry Wright is mentioned here.
Yeah.
He intervenes. And we've got the Rutherford solicitors. I'll go through Rutherford's. Rutherford's were given the intervention. Now, Rutherford's was situated in Castle Bromwich in Birmingham, and it was called Rutherford's and Company. But when the solicitors, the Solicitors Indemnity Fund and the Law Society chose a company to close the bad solicitors down, they chose Gardner, Canning and Adams.
Right.
Now, the Adams is none other than Robert Adams, the bloke who's made his statement. He was the partner of the firm that they're closing down. So it's like giving the bank robber the bank manager's job. So he's there now closing his own company down, or half of his own company down, because he still owns the company. He's still viable to all the... And his partner is arrested in 1989, he gives himself up to the police. He wasn't caught. From 92 to 1989, he was stealing on average £1 million a year. And at his trial at Coventry Crown Court, and they'd done the same thing. They said he was going to Warwick Crown Court, which I went to on a regular basis. I'm going to Warwick Crown Court, but it's been done in Coventry, so I couldn't interfere with the case.
Right.
Do you see it? Wolverhampton.
So they just
They've
jiggle
done
these
exactly the
cases
same.
around.
The modus operandi, they've walked in their own footprints in the snow. So you want to see one set of footprints, but there's 10 people doing it, and they're all travelling in the same direction to the bank to rob the money, to rob the bank. So
where should court cases be actually held? What is the normal modus operandi?
Well, people should be honest. They should be caught when people like myself and like anybody makes a complaint against them. The complaint is investigated and actions taken. They take them out. But when a solicitor is caught for thieving, these people were thieving, and all they got done was £1,000 fine. The ringleader, who was acting as the sales agent, the president of the Warwickshire Law Society, in my early case, was one of the agents who acted for the sale of the stolen property, and then they promoted him to chief executive of the Solicitors Indemnity Fund, who pays out for robberies that solicitors do, and they gave Andrew Joseph Brown £116,000. Michael Archer gave him £500,000 to murder David King, and he was never charged. None of the money, all these payments, 100, all these payments, there they are. There they total 500. They total these payments total £2,145,000. Not one of these payments was charged for. He was never charged. 2 years after the trial, this clown of a solicitor, who was chosen by the Law Society, makes a statement, and in it, he admits this. They're trying to create a situation where the matter was done. This is a principle done in the civil courts to recover stolen funds. But Andrew Joseph Brown was never charged. Therefore, how can they get money back from somebody who's not done a crime? You've got to be arrested before they can serve an issue of recovery on you. And he received £500,000. And I'll read you from the house that he got. The house was paid for, and this is it. This is what it says. I'm informed, and this is Robert Peter Adams, the partner of the bloke who stole the money and brought this farm, and he brought the farm for the prison officer, Andrew Joseph Brown, who I have got the evidence to prove that he murdered, he assassinated David King, who the police won't even register. Warwickshire police won't register him. Staffordshire police won't register him. I know where he's buried. His father got £25,000 because they burnt the garage down, paid for by North Warwickshire Borough Council, and the money was laundered from Argyle's through the council. And he says in a letter to his solicitor, I received stolen money paid to me by Michael Archer. I've got it here. We'll do this first. We'll do this. And this is Robert Peter Adams saying the facts of what happened to the police. I'm informed by my solicitor and believe that during the course of their investigation, the police discovered that on the 31st of October 1997, Michael Archer, that's his partner, Michael Archer of Archer Adams, purchased the property known as 8 Kingfisher Drive, Colvick, in the defendant's name, the defendant Andrew Joseph Brown, for the sum of £145,000 without a mortgage. The monies were made up of clients' fund obtained by misappropriation of the accounts. Now, the Law Society have closed Archer Adams down. The bank account was shut down, and the Law Society shut them down, as it says here.
What happened to the funds in their account?
Pardon?
What happened to the money in their account?
There was none.
It's all been cleared out.
They put Argyle's in charge of it, and they put Archer Adams in. Garner Canning and Adams, being Robert Adams, is the bank manager who's just robbed his own bank, and they put him in charge to rob the other bank now, to steal the money from the courts, and the other firm who was involved disastrous venture that broke all the rules. A year before, they were stealing money from old age pensioners in property deals.
So which
And
paper was this in?
this was in the Tamworth Herald in
Right, so what
1998.
recourse of action did the people, the customers, have against these people?
What did they have?
Did they get any payback?
They got 98% of the money back. They didn't get all the money back. They never
But they
do.
got 98%.
Some of them, not all of them. Not all of
Right,
them.
okay. So who was paid? That was through the indemnity fund.
Through the indemnity fund and the solicitors. Yes,
Right, okay.
now,
So
it
the other
says that-
solicitors basically put the money into that fund.
yeah, it's an insurance company.
Yeah.
So they're robbing their own solicitors. They're
Yeah.
robbing the society. It says here, I now know that Michael Archer misappropriated funds from about 92 till June 98. He gave himself up in June 98.
So has anybody been put behind bars? Anybody been imprisoned?
Michael Archer, the solicitor,
He
who gave
did.
himself up.
But did any money get taken from him?
No. He said at his trial he stole £5 million, but they only charged him with 3.3 because they hid
3.3 million.
They hid all the rest. Yes.
Okay, so
Andrew
what happened
Brown
with
had
the
it.
3.3?
Andrew Brown had it,
Right.
and it's all documented there that Andrew Brown had it, and
Okay.
it's documented.
And
in
this
the,
evidence wasn't presented to the court?
no, and Andrew Brown was never charged. And because if Andrew Brown goes to court, he would turn round and get everybody involved. Mike O'Brien, the chief constable of the Warwickshire Constabulary, by
Right.
saying, "You've all stolen money, but I was the one who he was paying to murder Andrew Brown, to David King, and the stolen money puts you received stolen money, so you're part of the murder." But the House of Lords, only a few years back, took the law and turned it upside down, reversed it, and said people who are involved this way aren't necessarily involved in the murder. They might be involved in the murder, but you are, because it's retrospective law, and that law on that day stands.
So when did the House of Lords turn the legislation on its head?
2 or 3 years ago it did. And it was
Oh,
a dodgy,
right, okay.
Oh yeah, dodgy law that was doing it. Now, what we've got here is that in June, the purchase of Swinehead Farm. Now, Archer Adams, as we've seen here, there it is. The Law Society intervened. He gave himself up on the 19th of June 98, and the Law Society notified Barclays Bank and froze the accounts. On Wednesday the 24th, the Law Society appointed Peter Wiseman of Rutherford's.
Right.
So now they're closing it down. Now, any money, any transactions after Michael Archer walked into the bank, the police know that he's give himself up on the 19th, yet the Law Society are a few days behind, but they've turned round and said, that's it, that company's closed.
Right.
Any business that was going on, you can't do. You're money laundering if you touch it. Now, the house that we've just been told was brought 8 Colvick for £145,000. There it is. Brought 8 Colvick for £145, and it was all out of clients' funds. Then was sold on the 2nd of June, so they say, because they
How many
asked,
days later was that?
well, they asked,
Same year?
They reckon that before Michael Archer gave himself up, because he gave himself on the 16th of June, they talked about selling Swinehead for 8 Colvick for Swinehead Farm, but the deal didn't go through. So the deal had to be done after the firm was closed down, the intervention, and it went on. And it says on the 3rd of July, Garner, Canning and Adams, it's there again, Garner, Canning and Adams, there it is.
3rd of July.
Yeah.
Yep. 1998.
98, yeah,
Yep.
before he went to court.
And it was sold for how much?
After his arrest, 155,000. And Kevin Gardner, and it says that Brown says he done it. He says, I didn't facilitate this sale. Well, why would Brown turn around and say he was the one who sold it at this dodgy hearing? And the farm was concluded on the 7th of July. On the 7th of July, 1998, the defendant is Andrew Brown, the prison officer. purchase Swinehead Farm, Market Raise and Dunholm Road, Lincoln, was completed for the sum of £135,000. They've sold a property that was bought with stolen money and brought another property with stolen money. After, while the Law Society's closing down. Now, this, when they turned round and said, not only was the police investigating it and couldn't find nothing wrong, Mike O'Brien couldn't find nothing wrong, nobody could see anything wrong, and the Solicitors Tribunal, the Law Society, the Office for the Supervision of Solicitors, had a committee, and it says the committee noted, now this is very important for anybody listening, the Office of Supervision of Solicitors, who's not any longer that called by that, they've changed the name and painted the door a different colour. The committee noted that it implied a criminal standard of proof when considering allegations touching upon a solicitor's honesty or integrity. Applying that standard, the committee was not satisfied beyond all reason that there had been professional misconduct on the part of Miss J. Grimmett or anyone else, basically. So the Lord Chancellor, when he said the Ford summons shouldn't have been used, another summons should have been used, these are using a professional standard. But it goes on. And if you want to hear a contradiction, what the Law Society does, there was no evidence of any conspiracy between the firms over the sale of Market Street. The committee noted that the letter dated the 26th of September, which was a letter written by my solicitor to Argyle's, the same day that they took out the summons. 2 letters was wrote that they're applying to the courts to have the case transferred to another court and sell the properties. In September on the 26th, Argyle's and Douglas King Wayne suggested that a building expert examine the building and alleged work carried out. Well, you can't sell the building if they're going to give me a surveyor, give me permission to have a surveyor. So there it is. Mrs. Holt owned several buildings. The latter was apparently written the day after the sale of 24 Market Street. Well, if you apply to it the day after the sale of 24 Market Street, they've done the sale before they've applied for there. It says that in black and white. Yet they're only using one house, and there's 4 joined properties. And it goes, the committee noted the summons of directions dated the 26th of September 1989. The committee was not satisfied that this document was a forgery. And it goes on. Here's the contradiction. They're using a standard of criminal investigation. The committee wishes to reiterate that the Office of the Supervision of Solicitors has no jurisdiction to investigate criminal matters. So, public money, and I'm talking many hundreds of millions of pounds year on year.
Yeah, Alan. Yeah.
For the Office of Supervision of Solicitors to run it. And there's an agreement, it's called an agreement of understanding between the police, the Office of Supervision of Solicitors and the Law Society, that they will not investigate the police won't investigate the Office of Supervision of Solicitors, and the solicitors claim that they investigate under a strict eye count of criminal evidence, that is, evidence that is fit for a Crown Court in a murder trial, a very high standard of criminal justice. And yet they turn around and say, not sorry we made a mistake. They use the word, the committee needs, the committee was not satisfied that the document, and it says, the committee noted that the committee noted the summons for directions of the September, the committee wishes to reiterate that the Office for the Supervision of Solicitors has no jurisdiction to investigate the commission of a criminal offence committed by a solicitor.
So who does then?
Nobody. That can do anything they want to. The Law Society is corrupt top and bottom, and the quicker the Right Honourable Theresa May brings this money that's been laundered into the country, Russian money, to the front, everybody who deals with stolen money, bad money, is sent to prison. This trial can't stand. This evidence is the gun that shot the man with the hand off, chopped the hand off the solicitor, holding the gun that he killed his partner with, that he killed the judge with. And the bullet that's in the judge's body matches the gun I'm holding the hand there that I've got. And that is called freestanding evidence. Nobody can interfere with it. It is freestanding evidence like this. And this was closed down. They're supposed for 5 years they was investigating Michael Archer. For what? Michael Archer was stealing at random £1 million a year. He was forging documents, and then they shut it down. They've investigated one business, nobody else has done, and that's it. And then while it was going on, this thief, the Solicitor General of England and Wales, was writing to the Law Society asking for my documents. And the executive of the Law Society, Peter Ross, asked somebody, answer that letter. And the other chief clown in the Law Society tells O'Brien, enclosure the documents, please treat it in the strictest confidence. And he was promoted then from Ipsley Court, from the Law Society to Ipsley Court in Redditch, dealing with barristers. So there's a bigger pot of gold with barristers. Barristers do with big countries. And Michael...
Well, they charge a lot, don't they?
And
per hour.
Mike O'Brien, this is Mike O'Brien's resume, in actual fact. This is a nice one. Andrew Brown's father. Andrew Joseph Brown's father writes this letter because he was trying to get me killed. Andrew Brown's father was. And at the end of the day, he turned round to me and he asked me, can you help? He knew he couldn't get me killed. That was shot and disposed of by the same process as David King fed to pigs, because there's a small holding by where used to be the garage that was burned down, and the £25 here was paid for the garage to dispose of the bones and the scene of the murder. The flesh of David King was fed to the pigs, but the garage and the bones are still under 200 tonne of road ash and dirt. They can't move that, but the police won't dig it up, but it's there. Now this is what he says. Matters of public interest to be made public on the 20th of December at the open public meeting at North Warwickshire Borough Council, which I was in attendance with, to expose another £1 million that was being dealt with. The chief executive was selling the silverware, selling cars to anybody. North Warwickshire Borough cars, council money cars, council-owned cars, to anybody.
Really?
Really, and it's there. And there's a bloke made a statement to it.
So
and they
the
blamed
council, the people in that council should be asking for
everything
evidence.
was for sale. And then the chief executive, he said, I can't answer me, won't answer me, O'Brien. Somebody said, challenge him. He said, he won't answer me. And then he left and went to John Major's constituency to be the council, the chief executive of the council of John Major's constituency. But this is an affidavit in as much, and it's registered with North Warwickshire Borough Council. Now, we went and put that in, and there's the certificate for there. Now, as we're standing by the back of the van, Brown's van, this Jaguar comes on the car park, the Solicitor General gets out, goes into the thing, and Brown said, look who's there. And he stepped back in the van, he said, don't let him see me. Andrew Brown, the prison officer's father, who received £500 for killing David King, don't let him see me. And I stood by the back of the van, and he'd already, because the camera's on the thing, they've told him inside that we're outside, and he's gone, oh, Alan Darby's there. He got in his car and he waited, and he's revving, warming it up, brum, brum, brum. And I'm waiting, and he wound his window down that much, and he come past me doing about 40 miles an hour in a small car park, and I thought he's not going to stop, and he skidded. The car skidded to the road and went across the road, but there was nothing coming, and he turned the corner. And as he went by, he went, hello, Alan. And this is what he took. He took this letter, he stole this letter from North Warwickshire Borough Council. This is the man who was the Solicitor General of England and Wales, who got the Chief Constable, the highest accolade that he could ever get, in charge of our atomic installations, both military and civil police. And that's when I say that is when our breach of atomic security has happened. O'Brien is a spy, and by getting the Chief Constable in there, he's got a can-do it, that if he needs to run, and he does need to run with this evidence, the Russians will take him. He's got somewhere to go. He's got nowhere to go if he can't go to Russia. He's going to end up the rest of his life in prison for what he's done. He's a murderer. And they made him the Solicitor General of England and Wales that makes laws. And one of his laws are to do with money laundering and stealing evidence. The what do you call it, act when you can't get it, you know,
Yes.
that act where
Yes.
you
You've
have
got
to,
to produce evidence when you're transacting money with the
when
banks.
when you
and
ask for
building
someone, you have to
societies.
fill a form, you know. and
That's
it's
right.
The Freedom of Information Act. O'Brien was basically,
But as I understand it now, with the Freedom of Information Act,
they can stop you on the circumstance. I've got the Law Society wouldn't give me.
there's a lot of information which they won't provide anymore, like under
No.
data protection.
No, but he was asking for my documents being investigated by the Law Society, and they wrote police treaties in the strictest confidence. He got and he's told them, I've got no evidence. He's told the police there's no evidence. He told me there's no evidence. Give it to the police. Then I've given it to brought an argument with the Law Society, and then he's asked the Law Society for my documents. He's stealing. Now this is the father.
Yeah.
This is a beauty. I wish to bring to the attention of the public and all council members who will be in attendance at the open public meeting to be held at North Warwickshire Council House on the 20th of December 2006. I, the above named Leslie Brown, say as follows: money laundering. In 1997, I was paid £25,000 by North Warwickshire Borough Council for, so I am to understand, fire damage at an outbuildings at my home.
Oh, right. So that's
And it's
that
registered.
garage.
And it's registered.
Yeah.
And it's registered. And what it is, what they done. Wrong one. Let me get
Okay.
it. Let me get it. Let me get it, and you'll see it. Because the police have put it as 2L Brown. I'll read this first, and we'll come back to it. And it's registered in these documents. It was never recorded, and the police put it on there. All these are documents, and it says that you did steal £31,000 belonging to Archer Adams Solicitors, contrary to Section 1 of the Theft Act 1989.
So this is part of the £5.4 million.
Yeah, all this was, none of this was
Well,
paid
not to
back.
worry. I mean,
Okay.
it's just
Yeah,
it's
but
just
what
a
they
small
did, what they
detail.
did with that one,
Yeah.
they've entered it as £25,000, but they've used the word "to" before they put his name there, just the word "to." But everybody in there is a victim of crime, and as such, that money was paid back. So he got £25,000 paid by Michael Archer that was laundered through the Law Society, and they'd done it in 3 documentations. I've got the documentations, and he says it's in the Solicitors Indemnity Fund. They've got it, and it reads: the money that I was paid came from Michael Archer's solicitors of Archer Adams of Long Street, Addiston, Warwickshire. The money I later found had been stolen from Archer Adams' accounts. To disguise where the money came from, Michael Archer laundered it through North Warwickshire Borough Council. I've got the documents, and they've disguised it. So these people are listening out there, and they want to see these documents and
We've
learn
got
how
them.
to do it. You've got them,
We've got them all here.
and it goes at John Archer's trial in Coventry Crown Court in 1999-2000. Criminal evidence used at the trial was fabricated by Warwickshire Police. The police
Fabricated by the
knew
Warwickshire
that the money I
Police?
received was stolen money, but they entered me as a victim, and it's in their records. Michael Archer claimed I had 25 there. And he goes on, evidence, and I've got the letter to O'Brien. Evidence of the crimes is documented in the trial records, and the money laundering by North Warwickshire Borough Council is documented in the findings of the Solicitors Tribunal, dated the 4th of July 2002, after the trial, and by notice of the crime which I made to my Member of Parliament, Mr Mike O'Brien, the Solicitor General of England and Wales, who failed to report it to the police.
So basically, the people in charge are obviously corrupt.
All
So
grabbing
it's
the
all,
money.
it's a
It's a
network,
to-
isn't it? So how do we break this network? So you've got Theresa
The
May
solic-
now. She's bringing in this
Well,
new
okay.
law.
I've said to you before on this one. I've got permission from the most honourable Jeremy Wright, and he's an honest man. He's the greatest Attorney General any country could have. He's honest. He gave me permission to go to court. I could take all this to court, but the price of it in public money would be horrendous. It would cost the public. It would be double jeopardy. It's they're being robbed. The public's being robbed, and they've got to pay to find out why they're being robbed. That's double jeopardy. I'm not having that. I'm a working class guy who's working hard, endlessly, for working class people. They're not going to be ripped off again.
No.
They've been ripped off once. This working class kid ain't going to rip them off. And I'm not going to be browbeaten, threatened. They have tried to kill me. They've tried to poison me. But that's by the by. They have killed 4 people. I can prove 2, but the other one, which we'll do on another programme, is Fred West, because he was killed in Winson Green Prison by prison officer A.J. Brown in January the 1st, 1995. And in the payments there, you've seen it, I've showed you, 71,000 in 1995. But that's what they're telling you he got there. But I can work out with all them payments, because them payments were all made to Brown. They won't put through the courts.
Yeah.
It was all covered up. The house is brought, covered up. None of them went through the courts. Michael Archer went to the courts, charged with £3,500. He's a naughty boy. And at his trial, he was a blackguard. He was a very clever man, Michael Archer, cleverer than all the others, and he killed the people so that he could be able to do this. Nobody would be charged, and I don't think he ever went to prison. The judge sent him to prison, but I don't think, and he was photographed in prison at a Guardian television programme in prison, but I don't think he ever went to prison. And he owns a Market Guardian now for all the money he kept, and all the others.
It's who you know then.
It's who you know, yeah. They kept all the money. And me, I've lost my company. I've spent 29 years, longer than the Hillsborough, because the Hillsborough tragedy happened, but mine's been ongoing. Theirs have been shut up. The only thing that with the Hillsborough, all them deaths, God bless them, it was all the corruption that was behind the scenes with the police, forging the documents, which one is going to be done for. But this one, there's murders going on, and more thefts going on, and more crimes being committed. And they're in a position now where they're running governments. John Burko hasn't got the letters. The Attorney General, Damien Green, telling the
Dominic Grieve.
Dominic Greaves.
That name keeps cropping up.
I've got letters from the Privilege and Standards Commissioner that has got six different numbers, reference numbers.
Well, you mentioned Dominic Grieve because he was the previous Attorney General.
He was told me when I asked him, can I go to allow criminal information with all this information? See your Citizens Advice Bureau. Mr. Jeremy Wright, the Right Honourable Jeremy Wright QC, to give me his correct title, which he needs, two letters to his office. They asked to confirm what I was talking about, that I knew it, that I wasn't mad. Confirm it, send these documents off. You don't need our permission, Mr. Darby. And if anybody tries to stop you, ask him to phone the Attorney General's office. The Attorney General's legal chief advisor, give me his phone number to tell the courts. And the courts are really bad. This is the Westminster Magistrates Courts 2010. 2005, 2004, Postmaster John Rawlings from Kingsbury Post Office said, are these documents very important? And I said, I know you'd answer that because I'm using the post office. His body language, he changed. His demeanour changed.
Yeah.
His body language changed. He became nervous when I'm giving him recorded letters. And I went out, got some letters back, and I said, I'm going to be reading the mail over there. When you finish, give me a nod. He give me a nod. Nobody come in. He said, I knew something was wrong. He said, I shouldn't be telling you this. I'm breaking the Official Secrets Act. Every time you post your letters, 2 Warwickshire police officers ring the back door bell and take your mail. On the one time, a week ago, that was late, and the van driver told me when he picked the mail up the next day, they'd stopped him on the way back to Birmingham and they took your mail off the van. And
Who's they?
Warwickshire Police.
So the police have the authority to stop the Royal Mail?
No, they haven't. That's treason, that is. That's high treason.
It is treason.
That was letters to the Queen, letters to the Prime Minister, telling them all about this. The theft was going on. That was allowing the theft to go on. This was in 94. The theft carried on till 98.
That's shocking.
It's
really
obscene.
shocking.
But the postmaster was a nice man. He'd just come back off his holidays and he's coming down a straight road on a nice January day after doing free work at the Birmingham University, the Law Gallery, free of charge, gratis work. This is the kind of man. He needs a concrete mix. I reckon he was dead or drugged, or there is a
Well, how can we wrap this up for the benefit of the audience?
All right, yeah. There is a method that they use it, and they use it for kettling. and it's electromagnetic, and it fires off radiation. And I reckon with that, all the boats and the big tankers use it for the people on the boats who are at sea with guns, and they say, keep away, and they'll fire this sound at them, and it'll kill them, it'll cook them. It's radioactive, and they don't even know it's got it until they can't move. And this is what happened. I reckon that machine and the facilities are there, and it was the police. He got murdered in Warwickshire, and I've wrote a letter. I'm waiting for the letter because I've told the attorney, the coroner, Sean McGivern, that his order that his report on the autopsy and the order he gave for the death was lost in history, lost to history. That's not a reasonable thing. But I've wrote to him at Leamington Spa, and I'm waiting for his reply now. I said it can't stand. So that autopsy has got to be run again. This court can't stand. This case can't stand. Michael Archer's got to come back. Andrew Brown's got to be. And I said, has Andrew Brown been murdered? And I believe that Andrew Brown is the official government assassin. And I think I can show 4 murders. He was killed there. Andrew Brown had a heart attack after he's on that. Strange. Everybody involved died.
It's a bit like an Agatha Christie, isn't it?
But you know the big robbery in London.
Yeah.
The
Which
one,
one?
the multi-million one.
The Brinkmat.
No, not.
Which one?
Yeah. Hang on. There was the guy was sent back to Italy, and he was a barrister's son in Italy.
Was that through a European arrest warrant?
No, he was. A deal was done in these courts. He got life imprisonment here.
Oh.
Mike O'Brien defended him.
And he had to live out
The
his days
Bayswater
in
Road
Italy.
robbery,
Oh right, okay.
Knightsbridge. O'Brien defended him, and after doing 4 years, none of the money was recovered, and they reckon it was the biggest one. 97 million. The one diamond was worth 4 million, and they sent him back to Italy, and he was doing time in Italy. All that he was doing was sleeping at the jail, coming out, driving Aston Martins, jumping in yachts, and Lamborghinis. And so it said, because where's the money you pay for it? He's paying for it. It's like the Indingers who O'Brien got the passport for £1 million. Vaz told lies for him. Mandelson told lies for him. Geoffrey Robinson supposed to have given Mandelson £96,000, aren't you? Unaccounted. No.
It's about time all these people came
Mandelson
to face justice.
Well, the Vaz has got 8 properties. There's an MP now asking the Prime Minister or the police to investigate him on a suspicion that the properties he's got, his portfolio of properties, he couldn't have got it with this money, although his wife's a solicitor. But when I wrote to him and said, I have got this evidence, I've got the evidence to prove a minister, a Labour Party minister, has committed a murder and all this. And what does he do? He don't write. He gets the youngest staff on the committee, the Home Affairs Select Committee he was the chairman of, to write to me with an heading that doesn't exist from the House of Lords, from the House of Commons.
a letterhead which doesn't exist.
No, it's not. It's bogus. And she said, the stuff that you wrote can't be dealt with by them. Money laundering's a crime. It's a crime. We can't deal with it. So they're investigating. So what does Vaz do then? He resigns from the committee because he asked a Daily Mail reporter to write the story about him that he was selling Class A drugs to a junkie who was a rent-a-buy, and that was that story in the paper. And then he's sorry, he resigned, and he was a naughty boy. And they said, oh, you've got to resign from the Justice Committee as well. He was the minder in the Justice Committee, who was chaired by who?
Dominic Grieve.
Dominic Greaves. Dominic
And now
Greaves,
like
Vaz.
Years again.
Yes, Dominic Greaves. He was on the chair, and he turned round to the Catherine Hodgson, the Privilege and Standards Committee.
Yeah.
Be wary of people that try to set traps for you. I'm a great one for setting traps, as you've seen with the paste. I'm a good one for it. And that's who he was referring to, and he said that on the television, and that's recorded. And she said yes, and that's why when I said, look, all you've got to do with my MP who won't tell me who he gave the documents to. He didn't give them to the Prime Minister. He said he gave them to a minister, but he won't name the minister. And I've asked you in the letter dated there to arbitrate with him. Just say, look, Mr. Brown was murdered. He's a one of your constituents. Mr. Darby is. All that Mr. Darby wants to know is, who did you give the documents to?
They won't tell you.
She turns around and says, nothing about it. Then she writes 2 letters, both on the 5th. You want to see the letters? I've got them. And you go, what's she doing here? Different reference number, 6 reference numbers, all different. And the one she says, and all right, she says, I know you think something's wrong. You've already phoned us up. What happened is that the reference number is my reference number on the top. The only one that's right. That follows suit. All the rest are after. I'm very sorry, unreserved apologies. We was writing to somebody else. We got you mixed up with somebody else. And at the end she says, no more letters will be answered. And she said, and then she concludes again, after apologising me for sending me this letter telling me no more letters will be answered. There's no crime committed. And she says in the letter of apology, what I said in the last letter stands. No more letters will be answered. The bottom paragraph. I mean, she's the commissioner.
So this is a great state of affairs.
I'll leave.
Yeah.
I'll
So
leave
how do we wrap this up for the audience?
On Remembrance Day.
What would you like to say?
On Remembrance Day, when the MPs was all done for stealing, putting bills in and getting money back that they shouldn't have got, and there's a lot of them done. Bear this one out. Mike O'Brien, the Solicitor General, took centre stage at the Cenotaph at Bedworth to put his bunch of poppies down that he paid £12 odd for, that he claimed back as expenses. That's the type of man you're dealing with.
So this,
and the paintings that I've got, the paintings that you've got,
yeah.
I sent them to Help for Heroes. And they wrote a lovely letter back, gilt edge, 70 paintings, brilliant, brilliant. So I said to the barracks, I went and had a meal with Colonel Harper at Whittington Barracks, was going to sell all my paintings, all the money Help for Heroes.
What did they say?
I bought a book, nothing. And then the council had a bloke selling bands and everything, doing my job, what I was going to do. And what does he do? He runs off with the dosh. And I'm left with the paintings which I give to this company to sell, because they wouldn't let me give them to Help for Heroes. They don't want me to have any good marks, any good brownie points.
You should have told the military people that Brussels intend to take over our military at the same time. And that's another government debacle. Anyway, thank you, Alan, for coming into the studios.
My pleasure.
Lovely to meet you again.
Yeah.
And I wish you well. Safe journey home.